Welcome everyone to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and we are covering Visions Volume 2, Into the Stars. And joining me for all of these conversations is my good friend, Hammie. Welcome, Hammie.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited.
We have already covered Sith and Screecher's Reach. You can go and look for those episodes if you would like to. But today, in the stars.
It's written in the stars.
Which... the animation for this one was so unique compared to the other ones.
Mm-hmm. It was a big shift. Yes.
Yeah. This was done by the studio Punk Robot out of the country of Chile. And it was the writer-director was Gabriel Orserio. And wow. This story, overall thoughts, like, it was really stunning and beautiful, but like the themes, again, much like the other episodes, were very on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes. Yeah. But they were very similar. Like we had mentioned, a lot of the themes are similar running through each of these. But it was amazing. It should give it away, but MC and I love the Force. What the Force? We love the Force. So each of these being about the Force and your relationship to the Force, it never gets old. Like we'd also mentioned, since culturally they're coming from a different perspective in each one, you're able to kind of like take new interpretation. I don't know. It just feels fresh and new each one. And the lore for each setting, we're kind of able to quickly grasp. This one has a little more exposition. There's two sisters, and one of the sisters, through her artwork, is able to kind of tell us the story of the planet that they're on. Mm-hmm. So just to start with, so there's two sisters, Khotin and Tsuut'ina. And they're on this planet that the Empire has ravaged for their natural resources. Basically, they're collecting the water, and they're either probably using it for hydration, like cooling. I'm assuming it seemed like a factory that they're using for cooling. And then what ends up happening is the water that comes out of it is toxic, and it's being dumped back into the planet's reservoirs.
Which is not unlike literal places.
Yeah, not unlike the real world. It was very, yes.
Like I live in Alberta, and, the oil sands, there can be pollution of the natural environment because of it. Anywhere we pipe oil to, oftentimes it's through Indigenous land that is still owned by Indigenous people and ends up polluting their water supply, which is so great of us.
Yes, you can tell even from their outfits that Tsuut'ina and Khotin are the indigenous people of this planet. Mm-hmm. So there's this part where you can see two stone pillars, and Tsuut'ina goes and touches it with her hand. Khotin doesn't want her to waste the water to create paintings, but Tsuut'ina says this is the way that we connect with our mother. So it's worth it. She says, I don't mind. I don't need to drink water. So what she does is she mixes, it seems like, dirt and the water to make paint, and she's able to touch the stone, and by touching the stone it creates the whole story of their planet, and it's helping us, the viewer, know what the story of the planet is and what happened to their mother. So like we had mentioned, the Empire comes and uses the natural resources of the land, but their mother was force sensitive, and so she kind of forms a rebellion on the planet with the rest of the indigenous people, and they go and confront the Empire. And we're seeing this through Tsuut'ina's artwork on the stone. It's really, really cool.
It's really pretty, and it kind of sparkles too, which ties to the stars and like the idea. And this is a common motif in sort of sacred stories across the world, that like the people who have passed are in the sky looking down on us.
Yes. The big example would be the Lion King. Timon and Pumbaa laugh at Simba, but that's what Mufasa says, that our ancestors of our past are up there looking down on us. And so it's the same with them. We find out that not only was their mother killed by the Empire during this rebellion, but all of the people. Their mother had hidden the two of them away, and all of the people were killed during the rebellion. And so they are the last two left of their, at least as far as we know, of their population. And so she says that their mother is looking down on us, and the older sister is a little disillusioned by this sentiment. She said, no, we need to look out for ourselves. We have to just, conserve our water. We can't be going and confronting the Empire like our mother did. That was the mistake that she made, was to confront them and to rebel. We find out that their mother has died, and they believe she is up in the stars looking down on them. The older sister, Khotin, she says, well, you can't even see the stars because of all the industrialization. Skies are cloudy and smoky from the factory, the Empire's factory, and so you can't see the stars anymore.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
It's so
good.
sad. And this sort of theme of industrialization versus the wilds is a big one in Star Wars, right? And it's often the Empire, but it can also be just like corporate greed, things like that. And it ties really strongly to us because it is this theme of consumption, and that that there's like an endless desire to consume when you are part of like this controlling aspect of the Empire. Same with capitalism, right? There's always a desire to like have more and to take more, and that's what's ended up happening to the sisters. And the eldest sister is just like, I go and take the water I need, and then I come back from this place, and then they exist.
With the theme of industrialization versus the wilds, it really reminded me of in The Last Jedi with DJ. There's all these other groups. We're kind of exposed for the first time to all these other groups outside of the Empire, like you mentioned, who are taking advantage of the situation and mining resources. We see it again in Solo too, where they're in the mines, and it's affecting all of the rest of the planets. We find out Rose Tico's family was also from a planet that was being mined for resources. So it kind of connects to other parts of Star Wars. Like you said, the older sister, what she does to get water is she sneaks into the base of the Empire, and she goes to these tanks where the fresh water is and kind of scoops out, and she fills it. She has a tank on her back, and she kind of sticks a hose in and then refills the water that she needs for her and her sister, and then she goes. What she tells her little sister is, of course, to stay behind. Don't get involved. We got to do this. This is the only way that we're going to stay alive on this planet. So she goes and tries to get the water one more time because they've run out of water. And the little sister, Tsuut'ina, comes running in and, of course, is caught by stormtroopers.
But and then the sort of fight chase starts, and they end up being able to... Tsuut'ina falls off the cliff, but together they're able to like pull towards each other. So it sort of shows that like combined strength.
Well, what happens first is that Tsuut'ina actually tries to use the Force.
Oh, right. Yeah.
When we saw the illustration on the stone, we saw that her mother was reaching out with the Force to stop.
Yeah.
It's one of the AT-AT walkers. It's coming towards them. And so the mother had tried to do that, but she failed. And so Tsuut'ina raises her hand. And again, it seems like in one of the other stories, like the first time that she was using her Force strength.
Yeah.
And so she was trying to do the same thing where it would destroy the AT-AT or AT-AT, but it doesn't work. What ends up happening is they, the first, or I'm saying first order, the Empire, just because it reminds me of Starkiller Base. So that's why I'm like the first order. The layout actually of the factory inside reminded me of Starkiller, where Kylo kills Han. It's kind of got like, and even the way that they snuck in, it reminded me of like, Rey sneaking into Starkiller Base again and all of that. But anyways, so they are confronted by these stormtroopers and the AT-AT, and they're kind of on the edge of this cliff at the end of the factory. And so if they fall into the toxic water, basically it's over for them. And so one of the officers pushes the younger sister, Tsuut'ina, but the older sister is able to grab her. And the way she does that is by using the Force. And so this whole time we didn't know that the older sister, just like their mother, is able to use the Force. She uses the Force to grab her sister and save her. They're both standing on the ledge, and the AT-AT, and they're all basically outnumbered. And what they end up doing is not actually doing what their mother was trying to do, which was destroy the AT-AT. Instead, they grab the water from behind. There's a huge tank of water that's above the factory, and they're able to tip that giant tank of water over, and it spills out.
That destroys the factory.
Yes. It's the water itself, that the natural resource that destroys the factory.
I love that the strength that Tsuut'ina is referring to is like sort of like this mother and inherited wisdom from the mother, which is so great, right? From a femme journey perspective.
Yes.
And that I do think that maybe the Tsuut'ina is using the Force a little bit, but like she can't really use it to the level that the older
that they could together, that they're able to together.
Yeah,
yes,
I do think that that's part of it. Like maybe that both of them were using it at that moment when they grabbed each other. And
they both reach their hands out, and they kind of they share a look together, knowing that it's going to work for both of them if they both like team up. That's what it takes.
Team up together, and it's kind of like the idea that we need to come together to be able to defeat these things. And yeah, there's really it's a really powerful story, but it's also very, I don't know, simple in a way. Like there's femme wisdom that is connected with the natural way of existing within the world, and that there to exist with nature is to be anti-consumptionist. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what one of the big themes is. And I liked also like you had mentioned, Tsuut'ina always talks about her mother, and that being the source of their strength. Not all of us like the idea about the Force being passed on from generation to generation. But basically, that's kind of what she says is like, if our mother is able to do it, then we will be able to do it too. And that's what ends up coming to fruition is like they're able to use I think the symbol of their mother, like having that in their minds when they're doing it. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think that was more maybe what they were saying than necessarily that it was inherited. It was more just like the right motivation was there.
Yes. The inspiration it came from their mother.
Yeah.
It was really cool too in those drawings when they first showed it because Tsuut'ina was saying, "Don't you remember?" to her sister, like to her older sister, like, "Don't you remember how it was?" Swimming in the water, and you could see like the fish, and it was just like she was like, "We were so happy then before the Empire came." I don't know, it was just really cool, and that's when we see the mom is able to like lift things with the Force in the little cartoon that Tsuut'ina is showing on the stone paintings. So then after they're able to take down the factory, the sisters embrace, and of course the sky's clear because the factory is no longer putting smog out into the planet. So the sky's clear and they're able to see the stars again. And then also the paintings come back on the stone, and it's not only their hands. They had put paint on their hands and stuck it to the stone, but it was the stone paint had hands from everyone of the planet. Like it was all of the indigenous people of the planet. You could see all of the hands coming back.
There was also sort of like a not just the sky clearing, but also like the land and the water was also
the plants were coming back. It was almost instantaneous.
Instantaneous.
It was a healing of the planet.
The planet, which is like my shit. I love that so much.
You can see the plants growing back. All of that. It was great.
It was so good. Yeah.
The hands on the painting or on the stone reminded me of Rebels. Of course, the hands.
Of course. Yeah. I still felt super sad. I don't know about you, but I felt super sad at the end of this because all their people had still died and there was like no bringing them back, even though they had this connection, which was, something. To their mother back, right? And to their people. I still felt super sad. Like, what do they have? I guess their life is slightly better.
I think I have to feel like that was intentional on the part of the creators. That maybe sadly that's the fate of a lot of indigenous cultures that are confronted with industrialization, and it was pretty much a massacre of their people.
Yeah.
And then all that's left are these two girls. They know the parts of their culture and they kind of have to take it forward with them. It is very sad.
But in the end, we see two stars that join their mother in the sky, and like that's it. Like I was like,
it's
God.
I'm telling you, you think these are going to be not that bad, and then they just hit you with those feels. Like multiple times, I was like finding myself tearing up watching these.
Yeah, I still don't know. Like I'm like I love this one. It was really powerful and like really nailed the messages that it was trying to say. But I'm also like, damn, there's no turning back. From certain things being
that you've done
gone.
Right yes.
Hard, so hard. Any further thoughts on this one?
No, that was it. It was it just hit you right in the feels at the end.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Hammie, where can people find you if they are looking for you online?
I am on Twitter @BalancePadawan.
And we will be back with our next one, I Am Your Mother, next episode. Cheers. Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music by Christy Carew for What the Force. You can support the show directly on Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force: Melody in Wild Space, How Rude, Anna Perez, Neil, Christian Luca, Carly Ann, Josh Johnson, Scott C., and Susan. Support the show by wearing the Force with our merch. Like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other podcast apps. It helps people find the show. You can connect with us on Twitter at WT Force Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook. Our website is whattheforce.ca, or you can join the Discord. Links are all in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.